during my elementary school days and my high school days, my father actually created the first, I'm trying to remember, I think it was called Samahan. It was like a Philippine association in the area, and it was at Carteret, Woodbridge, West Carteret, Edison, some surrounding towns, you know. And it started out as just a kind of community, a church and community association where there was like food and gathering and, you know, shared family spaces and religious celebrations. And then it was also a space where from that came a bowling league, like a Phil-Am bowling league. And I think again, the historians will have to help me on this, but I think it was one of the first kind of Phil-Am bowling leagues in the area, which is pretty significant, and I'm pretty proud of my parents for doing that. And I remember that each team had its own name, and I wish I could remember some of the names right now, but they were always, it was also a way that they were teaching me more about Philippine history, because the names were always derived from something very specific, from like different people's areas of the Philippines or different historical figures. And you know, there were bowling shirts for each of the families, et cetera, et cetera. It was really fun. It was a real it was a real solid way of building community, because they would meet every week. And then that organization also expanded out to do other religious type activities. So as many Philippine families, especially my generation, are familiar with, there would be these things called Fatima transfers. So my family had a huge Mary statue. You know, I'm going to say 3 feet, you know, and, you know, I also grew up with such an incredible devotion to Mary, and to the Holy Family, I think, generally. And we had one of those big Mary statues, but there would be a very common ritual, for lack of a better word, where Filipino families and then other families that were not Filipino became involved in this, where, you know, every week a Mary statue, so then we had a Mary statue that was grounded in our house, and then separately folks bought a new Mary statue that would travel from house to house, and that would be called a Fatima, Our Lady of Fatima. So Fatima transfer, we would transfer it from house to house, where all of us would go from one house to another, and when it came to a new family's house, everyone who was doing the transfer basically would say the rosary, including some other prayers that were part of the Fatima transfer. And for a home to welcome the statue or to welcome Mary into their home was considered a very important thing. And so for the week that Mary was in your home, you would gather as a family and you would say the rosary. So that was also just ritually a very important part of my upbringing and of my childhood that I remember, because my parents then, because they had established that, they helped other communities establish Fatima transfers. So I remember there was a period of time where it would be like, where's Daddy going? And, you know, it would be like, Daddy's helping X organization or X family or X, you know, town, you know, with their Fatima transfer. So.